All right. Hello and welcome to the Black Tower. I'm the Sorcerer, Amon. Another interview, and who have we got today but Amon El Ra Mata. How you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good, my brother. How are you doing?
Shit, kicking it, keeping it real, and still breathing. Breathing, I found, is very important.
Of course it is, man. It grounds you. It grounds you to your spirit. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
It's all big. Once I learned how to breathe appropriately, that really opened up a lot of information to come through me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially there was a point where I was almost 400 pounds, and I was pretty much miserable with myself in life, and my spirit had no power. You know what I'm saying? But it all started one day. I had a vision. I had a vision in a dream, and I was in prison. And I was in prison in real life, and I had a vision. And in the vision, uh, I was with this girl that I got arrested with, and she switched into my at the time was my ex-wife, but now is my wife again. Pretty confusing, but um, it switched to her, and we're like in this windy apartment complex outside, and it's just windy and torrential weather. And we go into this room, and the room is number 369. And we go into the room, and it's calm in the room, and I walk into another room, and when I do, I see this book, and I open the book up, and when I open the book, it says Asmodeus. And once I speak the word of it, I speak the name, I started feeling stuff started getting knocked off the wall a little bit in the dream. The stuff starts getting knocked off the wall. And I see my grandmother, who I call my mama, who was a really devout Christian, and always preached at me my whole life and said that I'd be a spiritual leader one day. Anyway, and she looked like she's about to die. And then when I flip the page over, it says Mikael. And when I speak that name, everything stops. And I turn around, and my aunt's sitting there in a rocking chair, who's been dead for about 10 years. And she's right next to her husband, who's dead too. And I hadn't seen her since I was probably, at that time, I hadn't seen her since I was about 10 or 11. At this time, I'm 27. Yeah, I think I'm 27 at this time. I'm 33 now. And I walk over to her, and she says, "Don't worry about all the other things that are going on." She says, "Just worry about what's within you, because that's where you're going to find your future, and that's where you're going to find your life." And I give her a hug, and I open the door, and everything stops. All the torrential weather outside stops, and the sun begins to come out. Well, then the door slammed on me again, and some kind of figure, a dark figure, is over the top of me, choking me. It's a shadowy figure with fire eyes, and it's over the top of me, choking me. And in my consciousness, I know I can hear the people in the dorm of the jail. I can hear them, but I'm choking in my sleep. And I hear the name Asmodeus 3 or 4 times, probably 3. On the third one, it's real loud, and it stops. And I come out of my sleep, and I'm like, you know what I mean? And I get the air back, and I'm like sweating, and I'm like, my throat hurts. And my friend, the guy who I actually knew, who was in there, I'd only been in jail that time for 2 days. He looks up at me, and he goes, "Dude, what was going on with you?" And I had marks around my neck. And I looked around, and I rolled out of bed, and I said, "I'm about to transfigure myself. I said, I'm about to become healthy, spiritually, physically, emotionally, and mentally, and attune all 4 of those things." And I started stretching, and I looked down, and I had it was a a prana book about breathing, and I started reading that. So as I was reading it, I was stretching, started breathing right at that moment. And slowly but surely, things started coming into my to where I was without necessarily the channels to get them, you know. And it was all teaching me things, and I started learning meditation, like real powerful meditation, and most of it was through breathing, controlling your breath, and all those type of things. And so once that happened, I started to go into meditative trance for sometimes 5 or 6 hours at a time. Maybe a couple of times I went longer than that. And in jail, with all that, the crazy chaos going on in there, it's really loud in there, you know. And just, I started fasting for 2 and 3 days at a time. And then I would eat healthier, stop eating bread and sugars. I started drinking a lot of water. Then I started like really enhancing my workouts, a lot of cardio, getting my heart rate up. Ended up losing 130 pounds. And in like 8 months, I lost 130 pounds in 8 months. And just off solid diet and exercise, but the meditations and that, the breathing exercises. I started learning yoga and developing my kind of my own yoga thing, working on my core. And then like every night, or we'd go out in the yard and I would meditate staring at the sun. And then I had other buddies with me who started kind of collaborating with me, and we would meditate at the same time, and our minds would connect and watch either when the sun was going down or the sun was coming up. And then, you know, at night I would go into these trances and wake up the next day and be able to, like, all these epiphanies would pop up in my mind about reality, truth, and it'd just be an idea. And then later on, that idea would be verified to my best knowledge to be correct by a book I see. And it'd be like the book would be about the topic that popped up in my head. And then I started my writing ability really enhanced. I started being really good at writing things and poetry, stuff like that, like really good symbolism, metaphor, allegory type of poetry about. I actually have a play I'm working on. I want to manifest into reality one day to be a play, and it's about the fall, and it's spoken of in a poetic iambic pentameter set, but it's from every one of the poems, like chapter wise, is from the mindset of a different entity, like Mikael, Azazel, Shemyaza, Gabriel, the Most High, Eve. So I got all this stuff written down, and it's really, really, and at the time I'm writing it, I don't even know all the stuff that I learned that I'm eventually going to learn. And it's all coming to me naturally when I'm writing. Later on, I realized one of the big reasons for that ability was Thoth was with me already, you know what I mean? And so that all started with a vision, and woke up, started doing stretching and breathing exercises. You know what I mean? And then here we are. So
Holy shit, man. So that's what I love about talking with you is that, you know, you came from a place of losing everything and all this other shit. And, you know, and then just, you know, some of these experiences you have, you know, some that happened to you that came to you while you were either sleeping or meditating or whatever, all the way to conscious workings, you know. You know, it's like we've said before talking, you know, I find it inspirational shit. You know, usually when you're in jail, you know, you find a lot of people, they find their jailhouse Jesus there. And you're like, you know, I found myself there, you know, and like not, you know, you found yourself in jail, but you found who you are in that setting. And then, you know, to come out, you know, and still keeping on, still doing this, you know, then there's no such thing as a lack of, of stuff that we still contend with or that we still deal with, you know. You know, there's always things of addictive natures. There's always, you know, these different thoughts and things that come to us. It's like, oh, I could do this or I could do that. But towards those of us who take our magical practice, you know, to heart like we do, we find we have very little room for that because we have too much we're working and building. Like like you and your family, and you building that up from where that wasn't into you have it.
Right.
It's healing. Everything to getting work and just doing everything else. Plus all these new avenues that you're wanting to go into. What are some of the things that you see yourself doing or that you want to do?
Well, for one, I love magic. Magic is my life. It's spirituality, and my whole life I always was searching for something. And when I found magic and the power of rites and just the power to transform oneself, that automatically became, hey, this is what I want to do. And it's not just that, because magic has so many different branches off of the one tree. There's so many different things I want to do, whether it be writing, public speaking, teaching, just talking. There's so many different things, but I want to be able to help people on a mass level, because a lot of like for me, for about 5 or 6 years of my life, I put myself in a real spiritual boot camp. You know what I'm saying? With not really a physical teacher there. There was nobody there saying, hey, to guide me along and help. But there was my guides that were there to guide me along and help. And that's why meditation became such a strong technique and tool for me, because it was the only way I had someone, especially in a place like that, where it would be able to help me. You know what I'm saying? So me finding that calling there and learning my abilities while there makes me want to help people, because I've been like at the bottom, like at the true bottom, like at the brink of suicide, to having nothing and not being able to manifest anything positive. The only thing it seemed like I could manifest was negative shit. I mean, at one point, my mind state was, I'm never going to have money. I'm never going to have love. And I'm always going to be poor. And I'm always going to get arrested. You know what I'm saying? And you become a reflection of your mind state. And that's exactly what happened to me for let's see, almost for 12 or 13 years, man. My whole adult life had been nothing but chaos and corrupt, and like, I won't say corruption, but like, yeah, my soul was corrupted, and I had nothing to live for. It seemed like I had my sons, and that was it. That was the only thing. That's the only reason I never would give up. But so now I just want to help people the right way. If people can find religion and that helps people change their lives, then that's great. But that wasn't enough for me. Jesus and Yahweh and all that shit, it just wasn't enough for me, because, well, for one, that's not what I'm meant to do. My soul has a path that it's supposed to go down. And that's not going to help me get there at all. That's going to be pretty much the opposite, because of the control, and the negative aspects of the people. I remember the last time I went to a church, and I had to leave because I was going to throw up because of all the negativity, the negative people that were there, because a lot of it was a fashion show. You know what I mean? And I say all that to say this, that there's other avenues that'll really put you over that hill. It'll help you get over that mountain, and that's magic. And there's a lot of people out there who don't know that yet. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of people who think that their life is fucked and they're never going to be able to do anything because of the situation they were born in. And I'm living proof that you can do exactly whatever you want to. You can literally just do it. You know what I mean? And for me, the best way to do that is through magical practice.
Yeah.
And I learned, I'm a great channel. I'm good at evocation and invocation, and I'm a really good tarot reader. I do real well with helping people with spells on criminal or civil matters. Love spells I do well with, and I'm actually really good at creating servitors.
Yeah.
So those things right there alone have become a big part of my life. Like almost on a tight schedule on a weekly basis, I have to work these things, even if not for someone else, then for myself. And when I do that, I'm happy, and it keeps me away from everything else. To me, the ultimate drug is truth, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Those things keep me away from the negative aspects of this realm that we live on, from the slave aspect of this realm. I feel free when I do that. That's one thing I can say about this country is behind our doors, even though it'd be frowned upon if they knew what I do, is behind these doors, I can do what I want to do. I can go out in the woods and I can do what I want to do, and spiritually, and I can grow and learn. And then, there's so much more for me, to be able to go out in the woods and build a fire and do a massive rite sober, and in the process learn the secrets of the universe, the mysteries that are pretty much guarded from a lot of people, sheeple. And that to me is has a lot more merit than to sit down and watch Drugs Incorporated, or to go sell dope anymore, or do drugs anymore, or mess with people who just don't have the like-minded mindset. I want to help people on a mass level get away from that slave mentality mindset that is pushed at them and developed so potently. It's so powerful, and people don't even understand that the very things that they consume in this life every day, such as entertainment, religion, food, and everything, is magic, but it's on a different level. You know what I'm saying? It's on a more negative, let's fuck them over type ritual aspect. A lot of people, especially right now in this time, go ahead.
It's like those damn Burger King commercials for all those nice big burgers. They look delicious. The more you look at it, you're just like, wow, that's probably not really healthy for me.
Right. Shut that door. So, yeah, like that. And I struggle with it too, man, because I love burgers. I love pizza. You know what I'm saying? I love all that stuff, but a lot of that stuff is put there for you to keep you off of a good diet, to keep you, the best thing. One of the reasons why banks, financial institutions, and all these massive groups, entertainment, use the Saturn symbol in their logos and stuff like that is limitation, keeping you from doing things, stopping you from being able to achieve something. And they use it, and it's everywhere you look. So, if they can stop you from enhancing yourself physically by purifying your body of negative stuff, and don't get me wrong, I love to eat, man. I love to eat, and I like movies. I do like movies, especially superhero movies. I love superhero movies, but I can't allow myself and my kids to sit down in front of that television all day and soak up all the stuff that's thrown at them. Going back to the Saturn thing I brought up, is they take away time. The elite wants to take away time. So many of us feel like we don't have time. We don't have time to cook a good, nutritious meal. We don't have time to work out. We don't have time to meditate. We don't have time to research. We don't have time to read. So they replace that with, well, you got time to watch this television. You got time to listen to Nicki Minaj talk about pussy popping on a handstand. You got time to you got time to eat, oh look, take these pizza rolls, take this 10-minute pizza, put it in the oven, it'll feed your whole family. If you don't want to do that, come to the dollar menu where we can give you 20,000 little bitty burgers that won't even really get filled up on, but will, you know, sit there and it will take about 5 years to run through your system, you know. And that it's more, it's just, there's so much to it. There's people that don't understand, they don't look into the things like the food that they take and ingest in, and that the food is no different than the news they take and ingest in, or the entertainment industry that they take and ingest in. To me, you have to want something more out of life. I don't go to the club. I don't go to the club no more. And when I see people who go out at night, I don't look down on them, but I feel sad for them. I feel sad for people who spend their time at the clubs when they could be doing something to better themselves. I feel sorry for people who are completely like stuck on Netflix, or they can't, or they binge watch or whatever certain things. People who watch reality television like religiously, people who put religion number one, who like, okay, well, we got to go to church. Sunday morning church service, Sunday night church service, Monday night prayer meeting, Tuesday night deacons meeting, Wednesday night church service, Thursday night Bible study. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because all they're feeding you is bullshit. They're not even teaching you the real shit that's in there.
Yeah, they're not
in their Bibles. No, like that, and it's crazy to me. And what's even crazier is about 70% of the time, the preacher up there knows the truth. They know that it's way more deeper than that, but they still feed them these breadcrumbs. Hey, look, here's what you get. Come back and see me next week. Give me $10. If all 400 of you give me $10, I can get me a down payment on a Mercedes. You know what I'm saying? And like, so that preacher, for instance, even though I don't agree with most of the time with what they do, they actually take time to get that sermon ready. You know, so many people have time taken from them. So they feel pressured that they have to go work a 9 to 5. They feel pressured that they have to, which is wage slavery. They feel pressured that they have to work a 9 to 5, and they never get to experience the spiritual gifts that the universe has given them. So many people have great, great spiritual gifts that they will never know exist because they're too busy working at a 9 to 5 job that won't allow them to express themselves. Now, some people have to work. I work, and that's cool, you know, but some people just are like, well, they just settle for whatever they can get. And that's not me no more. I used to settle for what I couldn't get or could get. Now I've opened my mind to where I understand I have to go get something. I have a desire, and that burning desire is going to manifest something if I stay persistent. And if I stay persistent and plan things, organize the right way, the sky's the limit. And that's magic in itself. Even if you ain't doing rights, every day, whether we know it or not, whether you're lost or not, we all are doing magic. You know what I'm saying? One way or another. And even if you don't do anything and you sit in front of TV, you're still doing magic. You know what I'm saying? Because they're doing it on you. And why not? If you're doing magic unconsciously anyway, then why not say, you know what? I can do anything I want to. I can create anything I want. Let me go ahead and start seeing what's going on. Some people just don't want to be put out. They're comfortable with the way things are. They don't want it to be no different. And that's not going to change.
Yeah.
But I will say that in this day and age, there is a shift taking place. More people are waking up, but most people still just do not want to do anything. They just want to keep everything the same. They don't want to hear about truth. They don't want to hear about magic. They think you're crazy. You know what I mean? Well, my goal is to broaden that number of people that want to be woke, that want to experience something. I mean, even if it's just one leap of faith, hey, talk to me for a few minutes. I bet you'll feel different. You know what I mean? And maybe 1 out of 10 people you talk to, that person, you know what I'm saying? That one person might open up. Well, that one person is going to pass it to the next person. And that's what I want to do is in the long run, I want to get more and more people involved into the mystical nature, the God power within us all. Man, we all have God within us. And too many people think God's up there with a big beard and a staff shooting thunder at motherfuckers and stuff like that.
Well,
And God is within.
you know, that's that does about so. Yeah, he's up there throwing thunderbolts at some motherfucker's ass. I like that. Here's what I think's interesting concerning all of that. I mean, every single bit of that. I'm gonna start from the end and go back towards the beginning of it, of what you've been saying. You know, I think that's why a lot of people, you know, they go and they get drunk on the weekends, or or whatever, go into drugs, just do all these other different things, is because they feel out of control. They feel like a slave to the system. You know, and it's that lack of power and a lack of control and lack of authority. And it's easier just to like let it go and get carried away when you're drunk or you're high, or you messed up or whatever, and not give it any thought. But then the thing about it is, you're holding yourself in that exact same prison and those exact same shackles. You gotta break through all that. It's one thing to like, go smoke a joint because you're like, oh, I'm gonna go get high with my buddy over here, and it's like what, one every couple of weeks, whatever the time span is. But it's not like all the time, every day, who and what you want. And then, and then you brought up a point about purification. That's the very first thing I heard you say. I was like, yeah, there's got to be that purification period in your own fucking life where you look at yourself, you sit there and you say, I don't like this, 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 this. But instead of going, well, I'm gonna go drink a beer, or I'm gonna go get, I'm gonna fuck this shit, I'm gonna smoke a joint, fuck it, I don't care. That's taking that authority and just, deciding, okay, well, you know what, this ends now. I heard it best one time put, and I don't remember who it was I heard it from, when they were talking about the devils and the demons, and they were talking about the things that, that haunt them or that attack them. It says, if you're not working for me, you're not working, period. And that's that,
Right.
That's standing up, that's saying, look, I may have these vices, and these are my fucking vices, but they don't fucking control me. And that's where you should have to stand up. That's where, and that's also part of the purification. We sit here and we talk about all the stuff that we, constantly bombarded by shit. Somebody's either trying to sell us something, convince us of something, make us think something, make us want something, need something, convince us that we need it. I hate that one. Oh, my goodness, at the medications. Oh, my doctor just found out I had sour foot. It's so horrible. But there's myrrh. You can take this magical pill. Yeah. It'll go away. You might be found disabled under this clause. And it's just sitting there going, what? No, the only problem with you motherfuckers is crazy. And no, there's no such fucking thing. But it is so weird how these people keep convincing themselves this, that, and the other. And there's always somebody out there trying to sell the miracle drug, that'll cure their problem. Here's the thing.
Right.
Nobody can cure your problem but you. But you have to get control. You have to stand up and say, fuck this shit. I'm in control, not this shit. And going with that purification, that becomes a natural process of weeding that shit out of your thinking, out of your belief system, and then being consciously aware that this is what's happening. And you're like, you know what, like there are no TVs in my house. There hasn't been for 8 years.
Right.
I have this computer. If I want to check out a YouTube video, I'll go check out a YouTube video. I want to see a movie, I'll go to the movie theater if I just want to see a movie.
Right.
As far as TV and shit, hell, I'm just glad my local news channel's on here online, so I can go and check and see what the weather's going to be. That's fucked up. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
try to keep up with my
Right.
community because this magical community that we're in, that we're part of, you know, it's everything to me. You know, I,
Right.
you know, I want to see it grow. I want to see it become something beautiful and wonderful. You know, we need more people like you
Right.
that are willing to stand up and say, you know, this is where I came from. I had that power and authority and that choice, and I took it. You did too.
Right. I think one thing that draws people away from this subject is for the ones that do actually buy into the conspiracy of everything, which I try not to like dwell on conspiracy, even though at one point in my life it's what got me to where I am now. Opening up to conspiracy is what got me there. But because if you do, that can become an obsession too, and you can lose the focus, which is bettering yourself, and it can become the focus and it gives it too much power. But one of the things that causes people to kind of just like don't worry about it is when they learn about the control aspect of the world domination shit, is they're like, well, might as well not even try. You know, they grow that kind of thing, but that's part of like the double causality of what the magic that the elite work is. That form of magic actually, okay, so like they'll put out Christian conspiracy channels, right? And the Christian conspiracy channel will be like, hey, if you see that all-seeing eye, or if you see that pentagram, or if you see any of that symbolism, that is of the devil, that is satanic. They are worshiping the devils and this and that. The Hermetic order going Dawn is evil, and any order, doesn't matter. Brotherhood of the Dragon, Priority of Sion, Brotherhood of the Snake, it doesn't matter. They're all fucking evil. Stay away from it. So then the people that start learning conspiracy that do understand that there is a control mechanism in the matrix or whatever, they automatically shun anything that is considered esoteric, occult, and they put it all in this branch of Satanism slash evil. You know what I'm saying? Evil shit. They put it in this devil worship and shit. That's really the term I'm looking for, devil worshiper. They think you're a devil worshiper. You know what I'm saying? So that shuts them off a lot, and that keeps people from opening up their mind and understanding that there's a duality to everything, especially on this dimension. And there's a duality to the occult. There's a duality to knowledge. There's a duality to the tree of life, as above, so below. There's a duality to everything. Everything has polarity, you know, and that's a Hermetic law, the law of polarity, and everything has a balance. So they automatically shut it down and don't understand that, you know, and that for me, when I first started learning conspiracy, that's what happened to me. So I know it's true. I know that what I'm saying right here is correct, because I was like, oh shit, and I'll see they're fucking devil worshippers. You know what I'm saying? I think I seen Fidelity Bank and it had a pyramid with a capstone and shit. And I was like, oh fuck, they worship the devil. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what you're told. And it wasn't until I really started, you know, meditating, really meditation and looking within, I decided, look, I'm going to reboot my computer. I'm going to fucking forget about every goddamn thing I've ever been told, everything I've fucking learned for myself up to this point. Fuck it. I'm throwing it all out, and I'm going to relearn the shit again for myself. And the teacher is going to be my higher self. It's going to be my guides and my higher self, and I'm going to look within and I'm going to find the kingdom of heaven. And that's what I've done. And doing that has shown me that I'm not powerless. It shows me that I am God. You know what I'm saying? I am the fucking Most High. And I am going to create my life. I'm not going to be a victim of circumstance. I'm not going to be a victim of anybody else. I'm going to manifest real shit, you know what I'm saying? And success and power and help others along the way. And what that's fucking beautiful. You know what I mean? It's fucking beautiful.
You know, it's, you know, you're one of my favorite people to talk with, because I mean, you know, yeah, you got that momentum and drive, and you can tell that, but you can also tell that it's sincere and that it's something that's giving you life. You can see that, you know. So wherever your life takes you, wherever your path takes you, all it's going to do is it's going to put that momentum and drive to good use. So don't be surprised you're
Right.
able to build up things. And speaking of building up things, like there's some workings that you have in mind that you're trying to get up off the ground that you want to work on. I wanted us to kind of go over that just a little bit too, because I mean I know you like a lot of practitioners, you have quite a toolbox there of stuff that you pull from, that you use, that you do. You know, we've talked about your motivation behind it. We've talked about where you've come from. We talked about where you are. And how you evolved and came through it. But now let's talk about what are some of the things that you want to give to the community, but also things that you use for yourself and for others.
All right. Well, for one, I'm a damn good tarot reader. I love the tarot. I live my life. I guide myself with the tarot, the book of thought that me and you talked about, and it leads me to make better decisions. It shows me, hey, if I'm not doing right, I'm not doing something on cue with my path, it'll give you a warning, and then it'll tell you, here's what you need to do, and so I can shift and I can change it. That same service I can give to other people. And then the evocation and the invocations of spirits and planetary magic. I love planetary magic. I've also gotten to where I go ahead and invoke the planet that coincides with the deity that I plan on evoking. So I've also gotten to where I get very, very specific on the days, on the times of the day, planetary hours, and so on and so forth. I work with both sides. I'm very balanced. I communicate with the infernal as well as the light side of things, depending on what someone wants, who they're more comfortable working through, whether it's love spells, sex spells, criminal, civil cases, the sky's the limit. Servitor creation. That one is pretty. That's a pretty big thing. I use the tree of life approach with that, but
Go into that a little bit.
I use the tree of life. Yeah, the tree of life. Using the sephirots and the planetary alignments with each sephirot, with each vibrating sphere, such as for like Tefarith and the color green. It's a real big process. It's usually takes me a while to do, but it's one right. But creating servitors for whatever you need. You need a servitor for money. You need a servitor for your business. You need a servitor for love. You need a servitor for your enemies. You need a servitor, whatever it is. It's there for you to do. And the reason why I love the tree of life approach is because that is, to me, the closest. It's like one of the main times where you actually are becoming God, and you're actually showing your godhood by creating some sort of deity, or you actually control every aspect of that servitor, whether.
All right, but you were saying about
the servitor, you according to each planetary alignment, according to each sphere, you develop their attributes, and so far as what their abilities are, what they look like, where they're you actually where they rest at, what they will feed on. And what they where they will rest whenever they're not out doing whatever it is that their objective is, so on and so forth. Just the whole whole issue, the thunderbolt, you know.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy doing, and but I would also give a consultation along with that, you know, letting them know, hey, that you need to, you know, give the proper attention to your servitor. You need to feed your servitor appropriately, and you need to whatever it is that you're feeding on, so on and so forth. Because you know, as well as I do, if you don't, you know, they can start feeling like, hey, they're not getting they're not getting their the attention, and they're starting to starve out. They could die. And a lot of people don't understand that. There's a lot of people don't even understand the concept. But I'm here to tell you that I've done it for myself, and it's been very, very successful for me. Sometimes it's such a long process at times that could be, it's a little bit, it's a long process. So sometimes you kind of just got to make time for that, because for me, it's a long process. I go all out with it because I got to use the whole room that I have for it, and I use a lot of props in order to do it. That you know, so planetary magic, whether it's money, fast money, love magic. I use Salos, the planet Venus, Freya. There's many different. I got one actually that I'm really proud of. It's called the Cup of Wisdom, and if here, I'll show you this. Look at this beautiful thing. It's the Cup of Wisdom. All right, it's Horus on the front, of course, and I use this for my right. This is a completely channeled from Tahuti himself, from Thoth, and it's got about really five rights in one. It's pretty massive, but it's very, very cleansing, and it's very, very opening. It rejuvenates, and it delivers you from archons. And those who are not aware what archons are, they are they're not demons. They're actually just a lot of negative beings that were created, and we can go a whole nother, you know, route with this through Sophia and
It's, did your sound go out?
all right, it's back on. It's back on. Sorry about that. It's raining here, but I mean, yeah, it talks about delivered from archons. That's straight from the Emerald Tablet. I call on 4 different incarnations of Thoth, and it's without giving away too much information. It's one I'm probably the most proud of. I also have what I call the Enlightenment right through Shimyaza, and it's to enhance the abilities and open the third eye of the individual. That one has been really seek. A lot of people seek that one out. That's the one I get calls about the most. Is can you open my third eye? You know what I'm saying? And that one's pretty powerful. That one right there has gotten a lot of people to stay working with me. Like that, they'll go from that, and I usually, you know, kind of guide them to the next. Because some people don't have. That's one of the best things about the services, is that I put, you know, 6 years of my life into like a boot camp type deal, where spiritual, emotional, physical, mental, and to get to where I'm at now. And people who don't know much can contact us and get a lot of that ability really quick. You know what I'm saying? And that's the potency and the power of these specific spells. And not only that, I enjoy talking to the people that I work with. A lot of them contact me just on the side, and we talk about things and whatever's going on. And I have the ability to really connect with a lot of people. And that's when I see the results, that's what fuels me to keep going. Is the last couple of people I work with, you know, I'm really proud of them, man. I ain't gonna say his name, but I'm sure he'll watch this, and he knows who he is, the last guy, because he was really in a tight space. You know, he reminded me of me whenever I didn't have any hope, and now he's getting to where he's actually, you know, doing rights. When he couldn't really feel much at first. He didn't feel much of the energy or nothing, and now he started with the enlightenment ritual, and you know, about 2 months later, you know, he's telling me, hey, I talked to Hikati, and she, you know, so blah 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 blah. I ain't gonna get out of his personal business, but the dude's really doing great, and that's what I love, man, is seeing that somebody who at one point was completely, they thought they were powerless and hopeless. Now they feel like they can do anything. He also had trouble approaching women, and I did the love spell for him, and 2 days later, the woman that he ain't seen in a while but had been talking to social network actually showed up at the store that he worked at, and he was able to talk to her and engage with her and have some coffee with her. And where he goes from there is on him. You know what I'm saying? But that's a lot of people, a misconception about the spells is you have to have the confidence. You got to be able to change, you know, whatever your flaws were before. You have to take those flaws and understand that there's a duality to your flaws. Okay? Because you might have a flaw here, but there's something that you're really good at on the opposite spectrum. And when you can shift your confidence through self-suggestion to where you automatically feel good about yourself, then that helps with the spells a lot more. See, the spell is going to push the energy for you to be able to make it happen, okay? And then once that situation has been brought to you by the energy, now it's on you. You know what I'm saying? Are you going, see, we can do a spell all day, but say you want a spell for a job, but you didn't put in an application. You know what I mean? So we can do a spell for a job, but if you don't put in an application, how are they going to know who you are? You know what I mean? So,
you know, that's funny when you talk about spell work and you're talking about the duality and flaws and stuff like this. Um, I've also found that there's a synchronicity in numbers and time and so forth and so on. Me personally, when I'm doing rights for myself, a lot of people will sit there and they'll create a timeline that they want this done in. I want it done, and I want it done once, and I want it done right. I don't set any timeline to it. 9 times out of 10, within 3 days, I get exactly what it is. Sometimes I get it that exact same afternoon. I mean, it's pretty crazy. And then there have been certain rights that, like I made pacts and agreements with something that I needed and I wanted. I spent a year of doing videos as part of a pact or an agreement, you know, and it got me out there and got me to getting involved in the occult community in general. And at any rate, that was a year of my life that I gave to it. Brother, the very next fucking year, I got everything I needed. Like everything. Like seriously, there was like no stumbling blocks. Oh, you might and might not, or I had to go through this, but I had to go through I know exactly what I wanted with no problem.
right.
You know, because when you're putting the energy and power into the working that you're doing, you're going to get results. You know, you're just going to. You know, it's not about, oh, because I made a pact or an agreement. Oh, no, well, you look at it another way. I convinced myself that I was going to put all my energy and my power into doing this thing to help viewers to understand the magical system. And in doing so, I would start to strengthen myself spiritually to where I could draw in the success of my desire by design. You know, it doesn't matter how you
Right.
get it. It worked, you know. And so I like that, you know. I think for a matter of fact that, you know, we can sit there and we can say, oh, we're, you know, our intentions. Like, for example, your intention behind all this is because you want to help other people because of this, that, and the other, for whatever reason it is. Well, brother, even against the naysayers and the haters concerning intent and intent having a duality to it, your intent is so honest, just the way it is, that the results are going to mimic that intent. So don't let anybody
Exactly.
or tell you otherwise, Um,
Right.
because I want to see you succeed. I want to see you continue. It's as we can, we'll have you back on here. I mean, because I would like to sit here and have magical conversations with you too. Pick your brain over stuff, not just Uh, but one of the things that I want to say to my audience out there is that this is Amon El Ra Mata. This is my friend and my brother. You know, I just wanted him on here so that all of you would get to know him as a person. I'll put his Facebook page below so that you can hit him up, talk to him because he's a person just like the rest of us. But also, I find this very interesting that in the last 2 or 3 months, I've noticed this just thing of everybody wanting to become an active part in the magical community, and I think this is neat. And I'm glad I'm the medium who can make the video for this. That's neat because let's shoot forward a year from now. I want to come back to this video, see where you were, and I want to a year from now. I want to see exactly where you are because that's your intention, your willpower, and that's going to ultimately show whether or not you held to your design and your plan. You know, because that momentum is
Right.
important. Um,
Right.
but we are getting closer to that. We are getting close to the time that we need to be cutting this off. Is there anything you want to actually tell the audience out there? Because I mean, I know we've just been sitting here talking, but we have people that are going to be watching this. Do you have advice? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Um, yeah, there's more I could talk about, but sometimes I get flustered, you know what I'm saying? I get talking about all kinds of, I get talking one subject and I go to 3 different subjects and sometimes I get lost. But um, is for one, and some people, a lot of people seen the video, but something I haven't mentioned is, and you know this, is that about in March of last year, uh, on the day of on March 21st, 3 days before my birthday, I got arrested for drugs and a gun, and I'd already had a pretty substantial record, and before that I had already started practicing magic with a buddy of mine, and something happened, man. To this day, I don't know exactly what happened, but I had manifested, myself to get into college, which was like a big step for me. So I got into college, but I had left my job to do that, and I still I didn't have complete understanding of what, the law of least expectance and so on, to where, you cast something, and once you cast it and put it in the universe, you have to kind of forget about it, and let the universe manifest it. But once you do it, it will. So I'm still having, at that time, I was having trouble with it. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I ain't getting, I'm going broke. I'm going broke, and my mind was like in a tunnel vision. I was only focused on the wrong things. And I didn't continue I wouldn't just continue to do what I was supposed to do in order for that to be manifested. I was still kind of young in it, to be honest with you. But I had seen things manifest, and then I was faced with a choice, and I remember distinctly I was in a evocation of thought where we both channeled, me and my friend both channeled him, and it was our first one, and it was, to this day, probably the most memorable. And he said, for the next 3 years, you will be. This actually happened almost 2.5 years ago. He said, in the next 3 years, you will be confronted with what some people might call setbacks. He said, but they do not have to be setbacks. He said, These are tests. These are situations that will be presented to you where you can build on. So there was a couple of situations that had arose where I felt like, okay, and then boom, here was one of the major choices was I'm sitting there broke. I'm in college. I'm getting straight A's. I'm sitting there broke though. And I'm like, okay, what next? I had did a money spell with Jupiter maybe 2 days before that, right? And I hadn't even gave it time to manifest. And I'm like, man, what am I going to do? And then I get a phone call. The phone call is from someone that what people call the plug, somebody I'd sold dope for. And he said, hey, man, I just checking on you. He was having some money issues. So he made an offer to me, and I went and got some drugs. And from there, from that point, that night, it was I couldn't go into ritual, and I dropped out of college. I couldn't go into ritual, and I was 100 miles per hour. You know what I mean? Well, I had quit talking to my buddy because I couldn't face him because I knew I wasn't doing right. I also had like situations where I would get pulled over, and this is some real stuff right here, Waylon. I got pulled over on 2 different occasions with drugs on me, didn't get searched, and went to walk or drive. One time driving, one time walking, and both times after the cop was done giving me his spiel and all this stuff, came back and said, "Oh yeah," and was to me that Thoth had told me in a ritual. Like one time specifically, I asked Thoth, when am I going to be able to experience the success and the abundance? And he was like, well, how long have you been going the wrong way? How long have you been going against the wind? And I said, 30 years. And he was like, and you expect it to change overnight. And one specific time after the cop had kind of harassed me for a minute, but he didn't search me, he come back around. He drove off, but he come back around. He goes, oh, hey, Josh. I said, yeah. He goes, how long you been going against the wind? And I looked, and I knew. As soon as he said it, I was like, oh, my God, this dude is chasing me. He's following me. And I said, most of my life. Another thing after he had said in the right was, in the channeling session was, always go with the flow, and your river of light will be clear. And right after the cop asked me, how long you been going the wrong way? I said, most of my life. He goes, I'm going, oh, no. Then he said, well, which way's the wind blowing? I said, north. He goes, you need to turn north and follow the flow. And he said, you're going south. He said, and if you don't stop, we're going to meet again. And he drove off. So as soon as it was over with, I was like, oh my God, he's following me. You know what I mean? So I had all these warnings, and I had even people I was selling drugs to that was like, hey, you need to stop doing this. You're too good for this, you're smart for this, blah, blah, blah. And then I went about a month and a half, I hadn't talked to my buddy, and I just out of nowhere, I was miserable with myself, and I didn't want what I was doing, but I felt like I couldn't get out of it. So I messaged him and kind of talked to him for a minute. And he told me, he was working with the Watchers and all kinds of really cool stuff. And then he said, man, I got to tell you something. He said, you've made pacts with deities, specifically Thoth and Lucifer. He said, and they take these pacts pretty seriously. And if you don't stop doing what you're doing and get back on your path, they're going to use the universe to put you back on your path. All right, I kind of let it go. And then 2 days later, I was arrested. And on the spring equinox, which is a time where in magic, as you know, seeds are planted. You know what I'm saying? Seeds. And later on, this was specifically done on purpose by Thoth at the time, through the spring equinox and everything to get me where I needed to go. So I go to jail in a town that I'm not even a bigger town that I'm not even from, or I don't know anybody. And I guess once the drugs wear off and you're sitting there and you kind of confronted with the situation, like, God damn, I had the whole fucking universe. I had the whole universe, and now I'm stuck in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? I could have done anything. So I started like really focusing on getting out of that situation and trying to, what can I do to get into a right? How can I get a hold of thought? Because there's no way really to do any kind of ritual inside of a dorm like that. Not no magic ceremony anyway. So lo and behold, one day I see a buddy of mine across the way. Now we can't talk. I can just see him through the window and we're doing sign language. And he's somebody who I taught how to meditate. He actually was like real devout Christian when I met him in jail at another place. And I had taught him to meditate before, and he had actually a lot of power with him. And I'm meditating. I'm like, okay, I got to get a job. I got to get a trustee job. And I have to get somewhere where I can do this right. And maybe I can get him in there with me so that we can do a channel. And I end up through a lot of maneuvering over maybe 2 weeks, I get a kitchen job. So then I get this kitchen job, and I can cook real good. And but I'm not a cook yet. So then I kind of maneuver everything with the power, seriously with the power of my mind, into where I end up becoming the head cook on the breakfast shift. Now the breakfast shift, you work through the nighttime. So you've only got one other person in there with you, one other inmate, and the cops hardly come in and out of there. So I end up getting my buddy who's real good at meditating. He had a lot of meditative power. I end up getting him in there with me. And I'm like, look, I get the lady who does the hiring for the well, it's not really a job, but I give him his name and get him in there with me. Okay, so now I'm like, look, here's the deal. He had never done a channel. And I'm like, here's the deal. I need to talk to Thoth like right now. Because I got to do something to get the fuck out of here. Because at that point, they were telling me through letters, and the attorney showed up there, the court appointed motherfucker that don't give a fuck about you shows up. He's like, yeah, man, they're talking about 25 years, man, and habitualizing you. You know what I'm saying? For being in trouble too much. So fast forward a few days later, he came in there with me, and I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna do it at the right time, at the right, He's like, okay. So we sat down, and I fed the cops real good that night, so nobody was coming there bothering me. And I was able to make wicks, and I scented the wicks, and I took like onions and put them in the earth quadrant and everything. I had this. I blessed some water. I had to come up with something because with whatever I had around me. So I also I took this big piece of wax paper. It was probably about 3 foot by 3 foot, and I made a big circle in it, right? And I drew a very Solomon like circle. I drew and I wrote all kinds of symbolism on it and all kinds of sigils on it for Lucifer and Thoth. And I named specific angels and specific demons, as well as and I made the the 6-point star with a 5-point star in the middle, and then another inverted 5-point star within it, and then in the middle of it I put the Eye of Horus. And while I was doing it, my buddy was right here, and he's real substantial energy. He's like, dude, there's so much energy coming out that motherfucker, man. And I was like, I know. And I looked out, and the moon was actually it was waxing. I'm sorry, it was waning. So I knew I couldn't attract. I had to banish, right? So I'm like, okay, how do I do that? So you can't. I'm trying to attract freedom here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, all right, well, I actually do a sigil, a custom sigil to banish me from captivity. And I broke it down to where it was really cool looking. Okay, and so I did the banish me from captivity, and I was like, "Are you ready for this?" He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm do it." So we actually had a blade in that place, and was able, that's all I had to offer is like some cakes and some blood, and just as a show, a show of my connection. And so we're sitting there, and I bleach and mop this whole area in this corner where there's no cameras at. I bleach and I mop it, and totally cleanse the whole area. And for about 2 hours, I marched around in a circle and was vanishing, because there's a lot of negative energy in any of those places. So we end up, I put it up on some milk crates, and then up on tall, stack these milk crates up like an altar, and boom, I got a wick. I got a freaking homemade candle I made out of freaking Vaseline and everything. And I got that bitch in the middle. And we start calling on him and calling on him, calling. I start quoting. I know a lot of the Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead by heart, especially the arats and pylons, like I talked to you about before. And I'm repeating that. I'm repeating and repeating and repeating. And really kind of lost myself in it and started really getting into it. And I look up, and when I do, I see my boy, he's shaking like this, and I see drool hanging from him, and he's turning red, and he looks up, and he's gone, and Thoth has showed up. And you could tell that the negative energy around us was it was a hard place for him to manifest in, because of just the negative vibration there. Not really for him to manifest, but for him to stay there. You know what I'm saying? Who wants to stay in that motherfucker anyway? You know what I'm saying? So he looks at me and he goes, his whole voice has changed, and he had never channeled in his life. And he's like, you do realize that your decisions are what have gotten you here? And I said, yes, I do. And I apologize for going against my path and for my ignorance. And he said, you do understand that I'm the only thing that's going to get you out of this? And I said, yes, I do. And he said, very well. And then he gave me a spell for anybody else at that point. It wasn't one that I had to do. He said some words, to be honest, that I didn't understand, in a different tongue. And he says, and I spoke to him and said what I was going to do, and he said, and he interrupted me and said, there's no need to speak. We already know what you're meant to do. And he said, as before, you didn't choose me, I chose you. And he left. And I'm kind of like sitting there like, okay, fuck. And like my boy comes back out of his, and he's like, he's fucking like, what the fuck, man? You know what I mean? He's talking about floating off and like he was in some kind of purgatory. And like stoked about it, And then I talked to him some more about it, and we cleanse up and everything. And then that night when I got off, I felt really comfortable. I didn't feel at one point, no point did I feel like I wasn't taken care of. At that point, I had only been locked up for 3 months, and I felt completely confident that I'm good, because I knew that I had that communion with him just then, and I'm really close to him. So that night I went back and I wrote down a list of things I was going to do. And I wrote down that I would get out. He didn't tell me this specifically, but I said, I'm going to get out around the end of October. And I mean, there was a lot of evidence against me. I got caught red-handed, and somebody even said some extra stuff, you know what I'm saying, to get me in more. I could have been in more trouble. So at that point, I start when I send my mail out, I'm writing Thoth sigil on my mail. I'm writing the same sigil to banish me from captivity. I'm writing that sigil on every piece of mail that I send out. And so when I'm sending that out, it's affecting the subconscious of a bunch of people that are seeing that mail, and they're never even thinking about it, but their subconscious is. You know what I'm saying? It's affecting their subconscious, but they don't know what the fuck they're looking at. So I'm talking about a lot. So if I send a mail to another person, it's going through these jailers, and these jailers see it, and the post office people see it, and these people see it, so on and so forth. So those type of things are what I was doing. I said I would get a job offshore, and I was going to get my family back, and a lot of things that most people have been like, man, that's impossible. Well, on October 28th, on October 28th, I'm sitting there in the bed, kind of thinking about eating something because I'm starving to death in there. And then they call me up and say, hey, you got to go. You're good. You got to get out of here. Pack your shit. I look around and I had been telling, just mark my words, I'm getting the fuck out of here. For like the next 5 months, I just kept telling people that. And I get to the thing and they said, the DA called, man, said they're just not going to charge the case. I'm like, they say, I said, no, they just said, go ahead and let you go. I fucking walked out of that jail after 5 months before that. They were like, hey, you're probably gonna do 25. You know what I mean? And I walked out of jail. And one other thing is, the stuff I said that I was gonna do, every one of them things have already come true. Got my family back. I got a job offshore. All these type of things really took place. And not only that, but more stuff that I've done is continuing to manifest. Like the other day, I had a bad parole officer when I got out that was giving me a lot of trouble, and so I cast a spell to get a different one, and then like a few days later, I got a different one who doesn't bother me at all. You know, it's just so many great things, and from there, that builds everything that, you know, I see. Everything that I do is, you know, if you can get yourself out of that situation, then you can do anything. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Not just that situation, but a bunch of bad situations. And just like, you know.
Well, you know, that's food for thought, you know, and for the audience, you know, just remember, you know, whether you're in an actual jail or you're living a 9-to-5 hell, you know, jails are jails, no matter how you look at it. But spirit is real, and magic is a way to open the doors to be able to change shit. And I want to say thank you very much, Amon El Ra Mata, for being here, brother. It meant a world to me, man. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate the opportunity, man. I appreciate everybody that's watching, and I really look forward to working with everybody, and especially working with you, Waylon.
Oh yeah, brother. Damn right. With that being said and done, I wish each and every single one of you peace, blessings, and power. Until next time.